Hello, and welcome to the live stream of consciousness. It is November 3rd, 2022. It was a beautiful day here on Long Island. It's definitely fall, but it was beautiful. It was sunny. It was clear. The air was fresh. It felt good to go outside. And what I just did now, what you're seeing here, is an evolution of the show. Decided to say what the date was and give kind of a daily check of what the day was like, so that when I look back at the show, I can kind of traverse time and remember a little bit more specifically what was going on. So welcome to the show. Welcome, Helen. Good to see you there. Welcome, Lily. Welcome, Tim. Good to see everybody tonight. Welcome to my happy place. As you know, hopefully it's your happy place to be every Thursday. I was just talking to the guest tonight about what a cool thing it is to create something intentionally and to just commit to it and to just show up, right? Just show up. This little token that Jilly gave me. What's up, Jilly? She just showed up. I just saw her show up. So here we are, co-creating this moment. I'm super excited for tonight. I have a guest on the show that is coming from one of the other shows I do. So I don't know if you guys all know. I know we've probably talked about it, but if you don't know, there's another broadcast that I do. It's not about consciousness, but there is such an amazing crossover of content and vibration in the show. It's called The Strange and Wonderful. It was started by Courtney, who was a viewer here and contacted me. We became friends, and she suggested this show. And she told me a little bit about herself, and she was a little strange, but completely wonderful to me. I didn't feel like any judgment or anything, and I was like, let's do this, and it became an amazing extension of the live stream of consciousness. So that show is called The Strange and Wonderful. I should have made a banner and put up a banner, but I'll talk about that another time. I do recommend it, and not just because I was on it. I'm not really on it all the time. Sometimes I am. Courtney's mostly doing it herself now. But we had an amazing conversation with the Dragon Lady a few weeks back, and it's just a good place to be. If you enjoy this show, you'll probably enjoy The Strange and Wonderful. Anyway, so my guest was originally on that show, and my guest wrote a very cool book that I am in the middle of reading called In the Beginning. And you can see it's like almost like I feel like I have a very Spinal Tap feel from this book, because it's like, how much more black could it be? And the answer is none more black. And it's a really amazingly interesting book. We're going to talk about it tonight. I'm super excited to have him on the show. So welcome to the live stream of consciousness, Nick D GIrard. What's up, Nick?
What's up, Michael? Thanks for the nice introduction there. I like what you said about Spinal Tap. That's so cool.
Yeah, you can't tell me that you didn't think about that.
I didn't think about it till just now.
Really?
Not till just now.
Wow. Well, I'm glad that I brought that to your attention, because it's total. How much more black can it be? And even as I say that out loud, it's like almost like relevant to the story, and what we're going to get to that. We're going to talk about it, because it's really well written. I keep telling my friends, because I've had other authors on the show before. You're the second. Lori Ladd was on the show. She's amazing. But I'm not a big reader. I've never been a big reader. I have gotten into one author specifically, who I'm sure you're well aware of, Douglas Adams, who wrote The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And the reason I love that book so much was just because of the style that it was written in. It's like you almost like need to read each sentence 2 or 3 times to
completely different than anything out there.
To understand it. Yeah. And then when you do understand it, you're like, holy crap, that's amazing.
We talked about it a little bit last time. That book, like, I read the first one, and then the Restaurant at the End of the Earth, and there's like 5 of them, but
I think there's 4 he calls it a trilogy, but there's 4 books, of course.
No, Doug Adams is fantastic. Like, I think I mean, we'll get more into it, I guess, but I remember that.
Yeah. That's right. You've reminded me to hold you from conversation until I initiate you here on the live stream. And that is by asking you this amazing question. and you don't have to necessarily go too deep. You're certainly welcome to. It could, if you can do it in a couple of sentences, great. If not, just whatever you feel. But this is the live stream of consciousness, and I love to find out what everybody's take is on consciousness. What is consciousness?
Yeah. So I knew you were going to ask that because I've obviously watched some of your shows. So I was a little when I saw you asking your other guest that I was a little nervous. I was like, that's an intense question. So I've been thinking about it, and this is going to sound a little cheesy, but the first thing I did was, I'm aware of what the word consciousness means, but I Googled it just to see all the different kind of definitions. And so very plainly, consciousness is the state of being awake, aware. And to me, what consciousness means is being aware of who you want to be and your purpose in life, who you want to evolve into. Your consciousness, you're conscious of what life should be. I think it encompasses all those different things. It's not just, the definition is obviously very black and white, similar to the cover of my book, but it's so much deeper than that. It's a beautiful question you're asking, because it just sparks so much other conversation. What do I believe in? What do I want to be? What do I believe an evolved human should be? What about an evolved world? And I think to be conscious, to explore that, I think it involves all those different things. So I constantly think about, how I can evolve, how I can be a better person, and a lot of what I think of to be a better person is involved with being empathetic to other people, to not be judgmental, to accept people's opinions, and just to engage them, explore what you don't know. And that's what's great. I like what you said about Strange and Wonderful with Courtney's. That's what we did there. It's just
Totally.
there is no, it's just who you are. And to learn what someone believes in, learn what their values are, learn what their integrity is defined as, is a beautiful thing.
I love that word. Integrity is such an important word. Yeah.
You and I are a lot alike, I think. Integrity is beautiful. Like, to express what you believe in. Sometimes I almost feel like when you meet someone, that's one of the conversation starters, is like, so what do you stand for? What is your integrity?
Right. I've never heard it put that way, because integrity is kind of like, oh, you have integrity or you don't, but what is your integrity?
Exactly.
That's a very interesting question.
Yeah.
Because integrity can be a lot of different things. It's not just one specific thing, but certainly I think we associate it with a righteous kind of morality, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But even righteous has kind of got this connotation to it, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Like a self-righteous person who,
right.
is maybe arrogant,
Right.
Yeah. It's like it encompasses so many different items when you talk about integrity and consciousness,
Right.
and that's really how you get to know someone. And I think, getting to know another human is just, it's beautiful. Understand who they are. Like, every human is an enigma. Everyone is a puzzle. And you may meet someone and they may come off as a little shy or a little distant and maybe not outgoing. And a lot of times people don't give those kind of people enough attention. And that's when you should. It should be your goal to, in a positive way, engage someone, find out about them, because no one is normal. It just means that if you think someone is normal, it just means you haven't explored who they are. You haven't broken in yet, and that takes time. And to getting to know someone, when you finally get to know someone, it's just beautiful. And it's hard to get to know someone. And cut me off if I'm rambling.
No, I love it. This is great. This is great. I will say this. Let me say this. I do love what you said about consciousness, for kind of right at the beginning, being about not only being aware of being alive and existing, but kind of questioning and trying to figure out who you are.
right.
Right.
Mm,
And you didn't even say, you didn't say it in question way. You almost said like just being who you are, who you're
yeah.
supposed to be. You know what I mean? And for me, that was one of the important things that helped me with my mindset and put me in this kind of place where
Sure.
I'm happy, like, regardless of what's
Yeah.
happening around me, I can always close my eyes and bring myself to a happy place, and that is because in this crazy world of all of these souls who are trying to figure out WTF,
Yeah.
right? Just in general,
I know.
I came to the realization that I am me, and instead of trying to be anything,
Yeah.
realize that nobody else can be me, whatever it is that I am.
Well said.
Nobody else
Yeah.
can be that, you know what I mean? And that was just the reverse of that kind of, I think we're kind of brought up the other way to try to figure out, who we are in this big thing, like it's just not taught right, you know what I mean?
It's
It's
a
just
mold. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, the perspective is not taught right, and I think that you're, kind of equating that with consciousness in general, like, that's
Sure.
part of consciousness is who you are. It's like we are all a consciousness, right? We're
Yeah.
all a consciousness and part of this bigger consciousness.
Humanity
Um,
as a whole and life. Yeah. Yeah.
right,
Across the
right.
globe.
Existence in general. So,
Sure.
I mean, so as far as the answer to the question, you've hit it on the head, and definitely you've added to the big pile of answers that we have here,
Yeah.
which is great. And you've also kind of opened my eyes to the title of the show, Live Stream of Consciousness, what it is, and something that I've been realizing too, through the conversation I had with Lori Ladd about her book, and yours is so similar in this way, is that when you're reading it, it's not like reading, you're feeling it, you're feeling the words, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're feeling the intention behind the way you're telling the story, because the way you tell the story is so intentional. It's like it's really written in a very, um I want to say, recognizable style, not that it's
Oh,
recognizable as somebody
excellent.
else's,
I
but
like
that
that.
it's recognizable as a style. It's recognizable as,
Sure.
wow, this is put together, in a way that's kind of cool.
Yeah. You want to make people feel with the writing, and I think if you put passion into your work, just like what you're doing right now, like you can feel the passion in your work, Michael. Like
Oh,
you
thank you.
feel
I
at
appreciate that.
home. I feel comfortable with you, and we don't even really know each other. But like, when you have these kind of conversations, it just sparks such a much better relationship. Instead of
Yeah.
being at the office and having a dry conversation about nothing.
That's right.
Like this is a real conversation, and we don't even know each other very well. And that's
Yeah.
how relationships start and you build and you find out more about yourself. Like you talking about, like you said, like the book is recognizable, and that's I've never even thought about it like that. And we're already engaging about it, and that you're
Mhm.
absolutely right. Like when you
Yeah.
put passion into a work, that's how you connect with someone, and connecting with humanity is beautiful. I really, and I haven't always been like that. I kind of,
Right.
I kind
Right.
of, I take a lot of lead from my wife. She kind of molded me into a better person, and that's how I always kind of try to take her lead. I like the female lead. I told you about that before, and you just have to kind of give in to somebody and kind of
Mhm.
follow their lead if you feel comfortable with it and
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
healthy. And
Mhm.
I kind of put that into my writing. I want people to feel what I
Mhm.
feel. I want to inspire people. And I have a whole, we'll probably get into it. I have a vision behind this book and what I want
Yeah, yeah,
people
we'll definitely
to
get
feel
into that.
about. And it's fun, when you feel
Yeah.
that way with somebody else. And
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the
And
title
it's
of the show. Go ahead, go ahead. Oh, please go.
Yeah, yeah, it's evident in your vibration, in the way you're speaking, in the way we're engaging.
Yeah,
It's awesome, and it's, what, it's kind of cool to bring that to attention. That's because I think that is part of why there's this authenticity to it, and
yeah.
I knew that this was going to happen, but we sold the book. Yes, Jilly Bean just ordered your book. Uh,
Oh,
that's,
really? Is
yeah,
it,
yeah.
was it the name Jilly?
Jilly, yeah, Jill is
Oh,
an
Jilly.
avid listener of the show, and
Oh,
she loves what is presented for her, and she
wow.
usually partakes.
Jilly,
So
that is unbelievably kind and generous of you. Thank you so much. I was
it's
not that. Wow,
That's
wow.
awesome. Yes,
Thank you. Thank you.
acknowledging your great energy.
What a great person. Thank you.
So before we get into the book, which I know is going to be awesome,
Sure.
I do want to talk about. There's one more part of the initiation, which
Yeah.
is kind of it's going to be great because I want to know how you got to be who you are, and that is the question. Is really this is about the spirituality. If there's a moment, or even if maybe it's something you realized from a kid, you said you weren't always like this, that you realized like the layers of kind of not fears, but just like kind of like questions, that are put on you of who you're supposed to be, exactly what you're
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah.
When did you realize like there's more to it? Like, you know what, maybe I haven't been shown exactly what I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm going to try something different.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, beautiful. So I had always, I think for me, it happened when I entered like the professional workforce. Like after college, and I'm 40 years old. College was a long time ago, and I thought I didn't know who I was. I liked people. I liked building friendships and being with people and learning about people. But I was lost after graduating. I had no idea what to do with myself, and I knew I didn't want to sit at a desk. And I do. Like today, I'm sitting at a desk doing my job. My passion is writing, but I don't get paid to do that really.
Right.
Um, and so I didn't really know what to do with myself. And so year after year went by, and I'm just working. I work in the financial space, and I don't enjoy it. Well, maybe we'll get into that a little bit, but I do have to pay the bills.
Mhm,
And I
mhm.
graduated with a lot of student loan debt. And it's kind of when you're just starting your life and you're kind of saddled with student loan debt, and you're not sure what to do. It's very depressing, and you
Mhm.
get sucked into like this abyss of just like, what am I doing with my life?
Right.
And you don't feel helpless, and you feel hopeless.
Right.
And
Well,
I
there's all this pressure, like you're supposed to do something with your life, other
exactly,
than just be who you are.
exactly. You don't know what to do, and we're
Right.
in reality. And so reality, we need money, we need to pay bills, we need to
Yeah.
live.
Yeah.
And so you're searching for what to do. And so I just got trapped in this life of work, which most of us do, and doing something I don't enjoy. I'm
Mhm.
still doing it, but I found that myself actually happened after I got married. So building up to, my wife and I have been living together long before we were married. And finally, when we got married, it was the greatest day of my life. And after that, like after a honeymoon, I went back to work, and I was just like, okay, so this is it. This is just it. And you're sitting at your desk, and you see these. We touched on this a bit before when we spoke, Michael. You see all these terrible things going on in the world, and there's nothing I could do. Like I have to pay my bills, and what am I going to do? How am I going to help? How can I do something different? And that's when I started this idea of what got into the book, and I started writing and pouring the negative energy I had into writing, and then that's when it clicked. So I put my passion into something, and
Mhm.
my goal is to inspire through writing, and that's what I did when I put pen to paper.
Mhm.
And that's how I started to discover of who I wanted to be, someone that to help the world in any way I can. And that is why I started writing. And
Mhm.
I decided that's who I wanted to be, someone that stood for something that is going to leave. I care about notoriety. I don't care about money. I don't care
Mhm.
about
Mhm. Mhm.
success. They mean so many different things. I mean, obviously, I want to live, a comfortable lifestyle like all of
Sure.
us
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
in
Yeah.
reality. But I don't care about having 10 Lamborghinis and
Right. Opulence and
spacious.
luxury.
It
Right.
means
Right.
nothing
Right.
to me, and it should
Right.
mean nothing to most people. It's worthless, and
Yep. No, you're like you said, we're the same. I
yeah,
definitely feel that way.
and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I discovered this, that I just need to be inspiring individuals, in a healthy way. That's
Mhm.
why I
Mhm.
chose writing to do that, and
Mhm.
that's just I mean, I'm still evolving into that. It's just like,
But
how
not
can I
but it's not just writing. I mean, it's also the person that you are. Like you said, you weren't always like this. So I'm imagining that there was this darker Nick at one point who wasn't as friendly and, willing to talk to other people this way. I mean, you seem like such a friendly guy, that people would be comfortable to,
Sure.
obviously you'd have to be speaking for someone to be like, oh, that guy's kind of cool, because visually, nobody really knows, are
Yeah,
you gonna growl
very
at
true.
them, or how you gonna be. But if somebody saw you interacting with anybody, the way you're interacting with me, they'd be like, "Oh, that guy's I'm comfortable. I want to go talk to that guy." You know
Yeah.
what I mean? You're very charming, you know what I
That's
mean,
nice of you to say.
and charismatic, you know.
Thank you for saying that.
And I think that that's also a part of who you are. It's not just through writing that you're helping people, which I do want to talk about. So let's
Sure.
start talking about that. Because um from what I remember, this is the only book that you've written at this
That's right.
point, correct?
Yep. My new book.
And so it's important what you're saying, that you realize that writing was what you wanted to do, and you've already kind of written this book. I think you were saying you're not really sure what your plans are next as far as writing goes,
Mm.
but you're also talking about this message about connecting humanity, which what I've read so far is absolutely what's happening
Sure.
in the book. The book is a very relatable story that's kind of like I don't want to say like the Bible, because it's not like the Bible, but it is a creation story, right?
Yeah,
It's a story
exactly.
about
World
creation,
building. Yeah.
and it's almost a story about one of the other broadcasts that I do that we didn't talk about, or I don't know if I talked about with you, is The Fool's Journey.
Mhm.
And I am the co-host, and there is a wizard who is actually very versed in the tarot, and
Oh, cool.
we're
Yeah.
teaching the tarot. And
I like that.
the tarot is often referred to as the Fool's Journey, because each of the cards represents these different kind of figures and points in life's journey. And so what I've read so far in the book, and what's so engaging, is that you kind of start, it's almost like, and there was light, right?
Yeah,
And you talk
exactly.
about the
Exactly.
creation of the universe. You know, you start at the beginning, and you talk about God.
Mhm.
And it's very interesting now that I'm saying it out loud, because there's a similarity to Jesse, who we were talking about, who was the original host on the live stream of consciousness, and the classes that he taught, because he taught a class that was called the 13 laws of the universe, the 13 universal
Ah,
laws.
okay, okay.
And the first one is the law of one, is that we are all one, right? And it's
I like
very
it.
similar, because you're like, in the beginning there was God,
Yeah, right.
right? And then the second law is duality. God split into two, and you kind of, that follows along with your book. So your
Sure.
book definitely follows this kind of very spiritual narrative that's been told,
Mhm.
but it starts to develop, and you start to see some ulterior motives,
Exactly.
or not. No, I don't even want to say that. I want to say you start to see a different perspective of
Very well put.
what is happening.
Exactly.
And I mean, it's so intriguing, because you're really developing it like step by step, about like who God is and what he saw in 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 his oneness, and then how he decided to, you know, kind of create a place to be, and then created inhabitants in the form of the angels.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm trying not to give too much away from your
Okay.
book, but you know, it does follow this kind of story, and then you start to see how God's kind of isn't as I guess the way you present God is not as all-knowing and all kind of everything as
Right.
we've been taught. God kind of has some
Right.
needs. He's kind of like,
Exactly.
there's almost like this human side to God, I want to
Mm.
say,
Yeah.
which makes sense if you believe that God created man in his image, right? I mean, it
Yeah.
makes
Yeah.
sense that he would have these traits. So why don't you talk about it a little bit?
Sure.
What inspired you to write this story? Would you say it was like channeled in any way, or did it come from somewhere?
Sure.
Maybe
You know,
tell me
good,
about that.
yeah, good question. So it came from my desire for humanity to unite as one, to come together. And to do that, I'm going to say something that's pretty controversial. I respect you, Michael, and all of your viewers, but religion is a difficult thing for humanity. It separates us, and there's different religions and all everywhere across the globe. Wherever you're born, there's a different religion, you know, and whatever your parents teach you is something different. And I think that separates us, and it's hard for humanity
Mhm,
to unite because each one has different beliefs. Each one thinks that their God is the number one God, and that their
mhm,
people are the people chosen. And I wanted to. My goal is to have humanity accept a shared vision of life, one that
mhm,
centers around the need for world peace, equality, and true love. That's the focus of the book. And
mhm,
I do that in a very interesting way because what I'm trying to convince people in the book is that if if we are taking our direction from a God, should we? It's challenging God. So this book
Mhm,
is, it changes the story of creation.
mhm,
Creates
mhm.
a new
Well,
life.
I think actually you hit it on the head. I didn't even realize that, but it at least so far, you know, because I'm only so deep into it, but it challenges where religion separates us from God.
Mhm.
Right? Because I
Agreed.
mean, again, you're kind of, at least what I've read, like I said, spiritually, there's this connection between us and God, and I guess even from God, like, you know, God made man from himself, right? Or
Yeah,
no, I
from
guess he made woman from the Adam's rib, right? I'm trying to think of the religion
yeah, I think
story. I
I
haven't
think
been.
yeah, something like that.
Um, um, but I mean, I guess in more of a spiritual belief, and probably, you know, your beliefs as well, you know, there's an essence of God in each of us,
Mhm.
right? And we're a part of, if we're a part of something bigger, of something infinite, if God is infinite, then we can only be a part of God, right? I
Exactly.
mean,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, if God is everything, well, I'm part of everything, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well
So
said.
I think that it's I think, like you said, religion is it does separate humanity in a lot of ways, but I think it's because it's been kind of perverted in a way
I agree.
from the original message, which is love, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and then the original message of, I think, all religion and is the original message is centered around love and peace. You know, there's that element in most religions. They're very similar,
Right.
but yeah, you're right. It's just it's changed so much, and so
Well, it's been corrupted in order to control, you know.
agreed.
And I guess I'm
Yeah,
just talking. I'm only talking from my beliefs, so I don't want to talk as if I'm like stating facts, but those are my beliefs. Leslie has a great comment. Says it matters less than we if we believe in God, but what we believe God is.
I like that. Oh, very good, Leslie.
And that's so perfect.
Yeah,
And I think, again, like,
I like
without
that.
even having to state it, I feel, again, like you said, we don't really know each other, but I feel like you believe God is love, right? And I believe God is love. And oddly enough, in religion, that's even a saying that they say,
Oh,
right? God is love.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
I believe that we're all on that same page. What's up, Leslie? Good to see you out there.
A great comment, Leslie. I like that.
So yeah,
Oh,
that was a
it's
great comment.
we're on the same page with that. And so when I was writing it, like the whole purpose of it is to unite people around this shared vision. And
Mhm,
so it is a very controversial book. I mean, if you are someone who is a very strict believer in God and that God did
mhm,
this and God loves humanity, you would have, I'll be right up front with you and being transparent, you will most likely have an issue with this book.
mhm, mhm,
However, no, I've had many people that are religious read this book. Very, very devout, very devout individuals around their
mhm,
religion, and
mhm, mhm.
they've reached out to me, and we've had conversations, and they say, "Look, it makes you think," because I'm saying that in this book that
Bravo.
yeah, I'm saying in this book that God is doing one of two things. Either God is choosing, and I'll hedge this a bit. I respect everyone's beliefs. You know, I'm not trying to offend anyone, but what I'm saying is that God is either doing one of two things: either deciding to torture humanity, letting the innocent life suffer, and creating these events to make us suffer, or letting it happen. Either way, it shows that God is not loving for humanity.
Pious and right,
Yes,
right, right,
exactly.
right, right.
And that's how I've created the story. So it's a common view of most of many individuals that God is good and is a righteous individual that cares and loves humanity, gave Earth to
Right,
humanity as a gift. And
right.
I'm reversing that. I'm saying that no, that God did not do those things. That God is an arrogant, manipulative ruler that created greed, power, and war in order to um,
Now let me ask you a
well,
question. Is this, and I don't know if I'm overstepping bounds, but is this like fiction, or is this your
oh,
beliefs? Because I'm
fiction.
kind of
It,
okay.
the book is completely fiction.
Okay, okay. Because
Yeah, I'm
I'm
not.
kind of
Yeah,
feeling like you're getting angry a little bit. Not that I'm
oh
feeling
no,
any, but being passionate about the
yeah,
story.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No,
And
it's
which is totally amazing. And I do think again, like you said, it makes you think. And bravo on that response from people who are devout, saying, you know what, I still believe what I believe, but you made me think a little bit. And
Yeah.
I got to get a bell, because I think we may have sold another book here. I have the book in my Amazon cart, and I can't wait to read it.
Oh, this
So,
is Kelly. Oh,
so you just inspired me to get some sort of live stream of consciousness bell for when we've pushed the guest and
oh,
successfully
oh,
pushed some merchandise.
thank
That's
you,
great.
Kelly.
No, that's great, and you guys will enjoy it. I'm really enjoying the book so far. Again, I'm not a reader, so for me, I read a couple of pages and my eyes start getting heavy, and I gotta go nod off. But
I know exactly what you mean with that, Michael. Like,
yeah.
is that a lot of times you do read books and it's not as it can be. Sometimes I read. I would say I'll call myself a big reader, but sometimes when things are a bit complex or a bit or done a certain way, you lose a bit of focus on it, and you read a page, you don't even know what you read, and that's what I wanted to avoid in this book. And so I take a very succinct, easy approach. There's not many. I have very little characters, not very, and it's very easy to understand exactly what I'm talking about. I've even been told that in the first
Well, your
part.
characters are almost actual. They're not even like representational, right? They're
Yeah,
actual
yeah.
characters from the Bible. Here's something funny. Jilly B, I think she's referring to the getting a bell. Beware the lightning bolt. And she hasn't even read the book yet. So I find that very funny, because there's references to lightning bolts in the book
Yeah, yeah.
that are very significant. And I think that that's
Very
not a
significant.
coincidence. No, I think that's great. I don't think there's any coincidence there. I think that
Oh, great
that's
comment.
that's
You
awesome.
you have a good audience, Michael. What is
Yeah, thank you, thank you. You
yeah.
know what? I do like my audience very much, and they are pretty specific breeds. So
It's nice. Like you said before, we're in a comfortable environment, and I think the two of us, and I can tell by the people that are commenting and are obviously following you, is that people like coming to a place like this.
Yeah,
It'd
we
be
want
nice
to
if
raise the vibration. We're trying to raise the vibration of the planet, of humanity. And certainly. So it's interesting. I don't know if you watch. Oh my God, what's this guy's name now? I forgot. Jordan Peterson, who's this guy out there. There's a lot of social media personalities out there who are
okay.
pushing certain not personalities, but I guess like they stand behind certain moralities and
Yeah,
integrities.
yeah.
And one of the things that Jordan Peterson says all the time, which has opened my eyes, but I don't necessarily agree with, is like is acknowledging the duality of man.
Mhm.
So kind of saying, like, if you can't acknowledge that you are evil and you can do some evil shit, you're not really good. You know
Uh-huh.
what I mean? Until you acknowledge that. I kind of liken that to, there's some martial arts kind of sayings and philosophies that, until you are master of the martial arts, you can't be a person of peace. You know what I mean? You
Mhm.
master the
Yeah,
martial arts so that you don't use them, but you're able to defend yourself if you
yeah.
need to.
That,
That kind of
that's a
that kind
beautiful
of
thing. You're right. Yeah, like
yeah.
gaining control, and maybe control is the wrong word. Maybe being aware of what you are capable of.
Possibilities, right, 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 and I
Yeah,
and I do agree with that. I do agree with that, and I don't think that Jordan Peterson is out there saying you have to like be a mass murderer in order to be a loving person. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, you
yeah.
don't have to experience both ends of the spectrum, and like you said, and like I believe in, y- you need to acknowledge it. There are a lot of people who I think question religion, right? They say, if God is all loving, why do babies die and people get cancer and this kind of thing?
Sure.
Well, you know for me at least, the understanding of duality, and hey, there's good things that happen and bad things that happen, and you can respond to them the way you choose, right?
Mhm.
You can get cancer and you can become a miserable and you can die a horrible death, or you can say, you know what, I'm just going to live my life every day and love everybody the best I can. So cancer can affect you either way. It's your choice,
That's a
right?
good point. Good
You
point.
know
And
what I
that
mean?
yeah, and that's why I like when writing this is that a big part of what I said, or what I talk about, is why God, if God exists and God loves humanity, then why is God allowing the suffering of innocent life? And that's what drove me with this book, especially. And we talked about how it started. Is that yeah, you feel like you see just all the horrible things that happen on this planet. They're happening right now today.
Right.
It makes you sick, and it makes you just want humanity to come together. And that's what
Yeah.
my is what this book represents is my desire, and I think most people's desire is to have a unified humanity. Not
Yeah.
a
Oh yeah.
unified humanity where everyone believes different things, of course, but everyone is supported for what they believe in. And a
Right.
lot of people just
Well,
don't do
you
that.
would think that everybody would want that, and you would
Yeah,
hope that, and fortunately, like you said, for me and you, I've created this place. I've got
yeah,
this audience, so now I feel safe. You know, we've got
yeah,
this. There is a contingency of people like that, yes, but again, looking around and seeing the news, there's a contingency of people who would rather lock their doors and just be safe
yeah,
than help their fellow man. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And so that's what's great about your book being this message to unite, this show being a
yeah,
message to unite. Like we're doing our jobs, we're putting out the vibrations that we're supposed to put out, to
yeah.
unite everyone. We do have a fan of yours in the audience who's read the book. Adam says, I love your choice
Oh
to
my,
the use of pronouns for the angels, God, and Satan. Excellent writing and a great way
oh
to
my
introduce
God.
the world.
Oh my God. So this gentleman, Mr.
What's up,
Adam,
Adam? Thank you for coming, by the way. We appreciate you being here.
I did not expect Adam Homike to be here, and he is a very close friend of mine, a very dear friend.
Awesome.
He was a groomsman of my wedding. We went to college together. We both swam. We were on a swim team together, and he is a very close friend of mine. Homike, thank you for saying that, my man. That's a very good thing. But I like what he said is that the use of pronouns.
Mhm.
So what I'm amazed that Homike showed up. That's really cool. But anyway, sorry. So, um, what a big part of this book that hasn't been done before is that I don't describe God as a he. I
Mm.
actually describe God as just an entity. It's very subtle. Not, I mean, I always
Mhm,
tell
mhm.
people after they read it, and
Right, right,
I'm
right.
on people now, but God is always a he. And religion, a lot of religion, not
Mhm,
all, but a lot of it is focused around man. It's very centered around the rule of man,
mhm, mhm.
and I don't like that. And so in this book, God is not a he. I've only described God as an entity of light. That's all
Right.
God is, and I never use he, him, his,
God
or
is an
she, or hers in the book.
all-powerful entity, right?
Yeah,
The all-powerful
and then,
entity.
I also say that the angels. I specifically say in the book that the angels are genderless, and I never use he, him, his, she, her, hers in the
Mhm,
entire book.
mhm.
And writing like that is interesting because you have to be very creative with your sentence structure.
Mm.
I don't use they or them either, so you have to be careful. You can't just say use the name of God too many times. You got to be a little creative with how you do your sentences.
Right.
But it's something that has never been done before. But
Mhm,
it's
mhm.
always a he, and I I don't like a male centered reality on Earth, and I think that
Mhm,
the reality
mhm.
on Earth is a lot male centered, and I don't care for that. And I
Right.
think that humanity would be better off. We can get into this a little bit if you want, later, or however you want, obviously. But I think the world needs that is a big part of the world that needs to change. That it shouldn't be
Mhm.
a male-centered world, and a lot of
Sure.
that has to do
Agree.
with how you believe. Actually, really, a lot of it has to do with equality.
Right,
Like you should never feel powerful. Like power is such a terrible word, and
right.
when you said Doug Adams, that caught my ear when we first talked about it on Courtney's show, is because the line he says in I think it's the restaurant at the end of the earth, and I apologize to Doug Adams fans that if I'm butchering something, but his line is anyone that wants power should not be allowed to have it. And I
Mm.
love that expression because
Sure.
why would anyone want have
Yeah.
power over another
Right,
individual?
right,
You want
right,
to
right.
work together with these individuals
Mhm.
and support who they want to be. And
But
you,
but see, I think that, again, herein lies the problem is that, I think most people, you and I excluded, current present company excluded, right? The audience as well. Is, I think in life we're kind of taught like, okay, we've got to be somebody, and not only that, but we've got to up other people. We've got to be
yes,
better than
yeah,
other people.
like yeah,
You know
why?
what I mean? Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
want to be better than anyone. I don't care about being the best. Like we're always um, taught to want to be the best, to compete, to
Mhm,
win. And
mhm,
I was an athlete for a lot of my life. I was a swimmer, not a very good swimmer,
mhm.
a mediocre athlete. I wasn't any good really. but you're always taught to want to compete to be the best.
Right.
And I never was really that great of a swimmer, but what I liked about it was the camaraderie.
Mm-hmm.
When you're part of a team,
Mm-hmm.
that's how you really learn to you talk about get to know someone. That's how you get to know someone, is when you train with them and you
Right.
support each other, you train together.
But swimming is pretty unique because it's not a team sport in that you like playing on a field all at the same time. You're really
True.
competing against time and against yourself, right?
Very
Julie
true.
B says power over self mastery. Yeah, I think again, it's about yourself. It's about
Yeah,
the the
yeah,
self.
that's good. Julie's got some nice comments. I
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Yeah,
She was also excited when you said it shouldn't be a man dominated world. She said, "Woohoo!"
yeah,
So.
I agree with you, Julie. Yeah, like it's just so.
And Leslie, awesome. I love the interactivity. Leslie saying training for unity. Yes, I love
Uh,
that. Great.
yeah,
Hashtag training for unity. I love that.
this audience is really amazing.
And then we got the competition to be the best is very tiring. Yes.
Yeah, very agree, Kelly. Like, yeah, like what it's like ingrained in us as we're kids, just always to want to be the best. I don't want to be the best at anything.
But it's not just being the best. It's like being better than the others.
Yes, yeah, yeah,
That's the real aspect of it. That's like, wait, that's ugly. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Why
Like
would you want
being better, like, oh, I ran 10 miles in 5 minutes yesterday or whatever it was. Let me try 4 today. You know what I mean? Like that's
that? I see what you mean. Yeah, you're
competing
right.
with yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, to
Yeah,
improve yourself, whoever it is that you want to improve yourself,
right,
but to be
exactly.
better than someone else. No, if you and I were maybe running, Michael, and I'm not a very good runner. I won't assume you are, but let's just you're a good runner, let's say, and we're running together, and I feel like you would be the kind of individual, if I'm falling behind, would be to perhaps fall behind with me
Right, pace myself. Right,
and run together so we can finish together, so we can feel combined, our energy combined together is
Mhm,
doing something. And that's what I love, when
mhm,
and especially when in swimming or a lot of sports, when you train together, you're doing it together. You're trying to encourage your fellow teammate, and
yeah,
it feels good.
yeah,
And when
yeah.
you do it together, you're like it's the energy behind it.
Mhm,
It
mhm.
unifies you. You
Sure.
want to be
Yeah,
together.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
I think that feeling has always been with me as what I've always wanted. I've always been drawn to a camaraderie environment.
Right.
I love that. And I think when we spoke before, we were talking a lot about how similar religion is to an athletic event. When we go to church, and I was raised religious, very religious. I'm not religious at all anymore.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
when you go to church, what's beautiful about it is that everyone is coming together, and you get up, and our pastors
Absolutely.
say, "Get up and shake hands with your neighbor," and you shake
Mhm,
hands with your neighbor, and I really liked that. And
mhm.
you're there, and you're singing songs together.
Tricked you. No, just kidding.
Got me. you
No,
know?
but I agree. That's a wonderful, wonderful observation about the things that are good about religion. And it's like you were even feeling kind of guilty to say, oh, religion's a bad thing, but it's not religion that's the bad thing. The nature of religion is, do unto others as you would have done unto
Yeah,
yourself. That's the
beautiful.
nature of life.
Yeah, and that's
But
it's
it's been
beautiful.
twisted into, you are a sinner here, repent, repent, repent.
Yeah, I
So
know.
anyway,
We
sorry,
can.
I
Oh,
digress.
no. You're spot on with
Yeah,
your views, Michael. That's doing to others as you would like done it to you is I probably one of the most beautiful statements in all of humanity's existence. And
right,
if someone can just, if everyone would live by that, we would be unified. It's a beautiful thing. And
right?
you're,
So easy, right?
yeah, it does seem very simple and easy. Yeah. And like when you go to like we were comparing like religion versus a sporting event. Like think of when you go to, any kind of sporting event and you're there, you're watching the match and everyone wearing the same jersey. And
Mhm,
if you're
mhm,
wearing
mhm.
your jersey, you're rooting for the same team. You are friends with everyone in that stadium. You're at
I
your home stadium.
I gotta say, it's so funny because we use that example here on the live stream all the time. I talk about how every aspect of every moment is an energy exchange, right? And
Yeah,
and and this
yeah,
stuff especially, and that for people, so many times people go, "Oh, stop with your energy, stop talking about energy," and we talk about a football game or a concert. Like
Yeah.
you're in a collective energy that you can palpably feel.
Yeah.
And
Electric.
there's just no denying it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
if you could say, oh, I don't get energy after thinking about being at one of those kinds of things, you're just, you
Yeah.
know, figure it out yourself. I'll talk to you later.
That,
You know?
that's the beautiful connection that you get there. You know, if you
Yeah.
and I were at an event, and you're just, and we had never met Michael. We're high fiving, we're shaking hands, like this is the greatest thing ever. Our team is winning, you know, and you feel connected, and you leave that
Exactly.
stadium, and you're just like cheering and go. Everyone's having the most amazing time, and all it is just giant crowd of people that are really sharing the same vision.
Yeah.
They all want the same thing, and that thing is good. You
Yeah.
know, they want to unite over it, and
Right.
you just feel you can feel it when you're there. You're so right with that
Yeah.
statement. You know,
Yeah.
you feel the
Absolutely.
connection. Yeah.
We got Kelly who says, sadly, our church had people who would sit in the front pew and be horrible people the other 6 days of the week. And you know what? It is sad, but I think that what's good about that statement is that a lot of people are realizing that and starting to say, wait a second, it's not about the outside and what you show, it's about the inside and who you are and how you treat other
Yeah.
people, you know, and getting and a lot of people are empowering themselves and moving away from the people who don't get it, who are just like, oh, you know, do to unto others before they do unto you. I've heard that one, and that's just like, that's just horrible, you know.
Yeah.
And I always say, you know, fight fire with fire, but then everything gets burned down, you know, an eye for an eye,
That's
then everyone's blind, you know, like what
well
the heck?
said,
Like
Michael. Yeah.
what are those, you know, philosophies? And it's unfortunate, you know, people, again, I think we are layered upon, you know, these fears and ideas of who we're supposed to be and how we're supposed to do things, and it's just so corrupt.
Yeah.
And then you start to undo that, you know what I mean? And you start to become this beautiful person and see beauty in other people. Man, I can't tell you, you know, for the longest time, I I had this view, very specific view about people, and that I created, and I put it into words, and I said 95% of the people that I meet have no clue about what it means to be a human. They're just so stupid. They have no clue. And I was angry at that 95% of the people. And that's what I would get in life
Yeah.
until I said, I'm gonna find the good in people. I'm gonna
Yeah.
make sure that I realize that everybody, even if they're an idiot, there's something good about them. You know what I mean?
You're right.
You know,
You're
and
right.
that just helped me be a better person and me experience life and respond to life in a much happier way, you know?
Yeah. It changes your entire outlook on life when you start to, like what you just said, is see that good, look for it, hunt
Yeah.
for it within somebody. You know, like I want to connect with you, and when
Right.
you start being more open like that with individuals that maybe nobody has
Mhm.
before, that's when they open up. That's when they start to say, okay, this person is genuine. This
Mhm.
person does want to talk to me.
Yeah.
And I try to do exactly what you just said, Michael. And have I always? No, I've always trying to evolve to do just that. It's not just, you know, this person acts this way, and that's that. You know, I put them in this
Right.
box, and they don't. I don't like their views, and that's it. You know, and you shut them off. But perhaps that person has experienced someone doing that to them in the past. Perhaps that person was bullied. Perhaps that person has experienced these terrible things, and that's when empathy comes into play. Is because you need to understand what they have been through,
Mm.
want to understand it, and when you do, people can sense that. Not even through any words, they can just sense that you genuinely care and genuinely are listening to what they feel. And when
Yeah.
you want to understand with somebody else, that's when you start to get to know someone. That's when they open up,
Yeah.
and you become friends, and you change, you unite,
Yeah.
and it's beautiful, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot of effort on the person. Like so, you were
Mhm.
saying, like, you
Mhm.
can't just sit
Mhm.
back and, oh, you know, we'll try to figure it out with someone and try to get to know them. You really have to go out of your way, and
Yeah, it's intention, right? We were talking about that as well. It's
yeah,
you have to intentionally say, you know what, I want I know that everybody has some good in them, and I know that I can find
yeah,
it. You know what I mean? You're not just I want. You got to just know it. You got to just
yeah.
believe it. You know,
You have to want to try to find
you
it.
got to feel it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Oh, very well said, Michael. Yeah, you
awesome.
you and I, yeah, this is, I wish this kind of atmosphere could exist for
Right, everywhere,
everyone.
every day,
Yes.
all the
Yeah.
time.
People are just,
So let's get back to the book. Let's
oh,
talk
sure,
to
sure.
the book.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Julie's just saying encourage authenticity. Exactly.
There,
That's
yeah.
exactly what
Another
we
good
do.
comment.
Yeah,
You guys
another
are
good.
on these people are everyone is so on point here. Yeah, like, yeah.
We're creating a great energy and a great
Yeah.
consciousness. We talked about with Lori, her book is all about consciousness, and all of it's her book is almost, it's called The Divine Design, and it's also it's a little bit more spiritually based, but it talks about the creation of the world and the creation of different dimensions. It talks about higher dimensions. It's very, very
Oh, that's
interesting.
cool. Okay.
And we realized kind of together on the show through conversing that in the book, like when you, not just in the book, but when you create something, so you're
Right.
creating a poem, a book, a song, when you're playing sports, when you're creating something,
Mhm.
that thing that you create actually has a consciousness to it,
Mhm.
especially when it's something like a song or a poem or a book,
Yeah.
because other people experience that and they exchange
Yeah.
energy with that thing that you created. It's not even you that they're exchanging the energy with. It's this thing that has its own consciousness, and that's, I mean, I don't know, I guess it could just be me and my own realizations and how they affect my
Sure.
existence all the time. Every time I realize something, my existence kind of expands into this new thing. um and it just really is a beautiful thing. And I think this show, this moment, that was why at the beginning I wanted to say that the date and kind of say what the day was like, because I'm like, this is a unique moment that we're creating, we're
Yeah.
experiencing, and
Present.
I want it to be this.
Yeah. No, no, that's special, and you're right. Like, I am this book. Like, I live within it. My energy is inside of it. My beliefs, everything that I care about, is in there, and that's what I wanted to portray. I mean,
Mhm.
not portray, but to do.
You
You
wanted
know?
to communicate it. You wanted to create a place for that energy to live.
Yeah, I wanted people to feel when they read. I
Yeah,
wanted to
yeah,
listen.
and absolutely. And again, I will say you absolutely do. And Jilly, again, a wonderful comment. She's saying enjoying this now. She's enjoying this
Present.
moment right here.
Yeah, it's so
Which
important
is,
to enjoy. Yeah, to live within the present. It's hard to live in the present. It's very difficult.
yeah, and again,
Yeah,
that's what this was created for. That's why I love it so much, because it reminds me of that every week. And it's like, it's sometimes it's crazy. It's like, oh my god, it's Thursday again. Like, holy crap, you know what I
yeah,
mean? It's like, I got to do this again. But it's like, what do you mean I got to do this? I want to do this again. And again, why I get people who I'm interested in talking to and learning about and making this with,
sure.
creating this with. And Leslie has a hashtag art saves lives. Yes,
Oh,
Leslie is a
very
friend of
true.
mine I went to art school with, and we've
Oh,
been
really?
reconnected on Facebook, and she's pretty awesome. So thanks for
Oh,
coming
okay.
and
2 artists. Oh, okay, love.
sharing
Good for you guys.
sharing your energy. Yeah.
Yeah, like, and through art, like, and what art is defined as many different things. Music, writing, painting, so many different things. But
Mm,
your passion lives within it. Like, you are it. Like, your
mhm.
your work, Michael. Your art is. I mean, you're an artist on this show. I mean, it's
Yeah,
you are here. Like, we're enjoying it. And your passion and energy is right within it, and we're experiencing it in this
I love
present
it.
moment.
It's amazing, right?
If you let it marinate, if you accept it, this aura that we have here, like, you just feel good about it. You can connect with it.
All
It's
right, let's do that. Let's everybody breathe
all
in
right.
through your nose. Breathe in through your nose.
It's all.
Yes,
Yeah, it feels.
be
It
in
feels.
this moment.
Yeah,
Feel this moment. Awesome. I
yeah, I
love it,
can
Nick.
feel it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I do want to kind of get back to the book, and
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
actually, I don't want to. It's like I kind of want to know, but I don't want to know because I'm reading it and I haven't gotten to. I'm imagining, and maybe I'm wrong, that at some point humanity comes along. Maybe it doesn't,
yeah.
because you
Let
said
me.
okay,
Sure.
because I'm almost there. Like the angels have developed and kind of gone through their own realization of what God is, or their own perception of what God is. And this is where, like you said, it's very different than the story that's been told, but it's certainly by no means is it like, well, that's not realistic. I mean, it's certainly a realistic
Yeah,
perception. You know what I mean?
very
And one
realistic.
of the other things I wanted to say also about it was it is at least the beginning of it that I've been reading, and maybe it changes styles, like vocal styles at some point, but it is written very much like on the first day God created the earth, and on
Yeah,
the second day he said, "Let there be light." Like it's got that kind of language to it, but in a very, very easy way to in a story. You're telling a
yeah,
story with that kind of language, which I think that's the style that I feel from it. You
yeah.
know,
And I've split the book up into kind of two parts. So think of the first part of the book is titled the Old Testament. So I've kind of written it in a very biblical form, like you just
hmm
said,
hmm
modeled after how the Bible is kind of written. That
hmm
the light was created this way, humanity was created this way, the earth was created this way. Just building a world in the first half of the book. And in this book, why it's so controversial is that most people think of God as God creating the earth. Well, in this book, I've reversed that. So instead of God creating the earth, I've had the devil create the earth, and the devil is this entity who wants equality in heaven, and who heaven is plagued by manipulative power that God is wielding over the poor angels that look at I just said he in the book. I don't even describe it because it's ingrained
you
in my
caught
head.
yourself. You caught yourself though.
Yeah. So God is manipulating these angels and torturing them. And so the devil, Lucifer, is wants God to um, wants God's affection, wants God's love, and creates the earth as a gift for God. And it's this beautiful, amazing, beautiful planet that we know of before, pollution and everything like that. It was just a pure, balanced, beautiful earth full of flora and fauna and untainted by humanity. And God is a jealous entity and doesn't want anything created that is more beautiful than what God thinks should be created. And so
Mm,
decides to
mm,
destroy the planet and destroy the planet with humanity, the plague
mm,
of humanity, and instills these values within humanity that they need to be better than someone else, crave something else, greed. They
mm.
want to have power. And what does humanity do? They just grow and multiply and take from the planet without giving anything back. Very similar to what's going on in our society today. So I'm trying to
Mhm,
describe
mhm,
why our society exists the way it is. And
mhm,
I've created
mhm.
this new story around that. So the first half
Amazing.
of the book is that Old Testament, is this building of the world from scratch, a completely different story, an evil God
Mhm.
and a righteous
Right.
devil combating for control of the heavens. And it changes into what you'll find, Michael, is in the second part of the book, a new type of dialogue. So the and I'm not giving too much away here, so fine.
Well, you've already ruined it for me because I didn't I didn't
So
read
do I.
that. You didn't ruin it. I'm gonna still read it. I'm gonna still read it. But now I know kind of what to expect. But
Yeah,
that's great because I also did. I was like, I feel like the language at some point is gonna change. Like it's not gonna be this
exactly.
biblical
It,
presentation. It's
exactly.
gonna
And so that
become a story. You know.
it transitions
Right.
into a challenge between God and Lucifer for who will exist for all of eternity, which realm will exist, heaven or hell.
Mm,
And the challenge is to create a love between two humans in present time today.
mm,
And they will torture these humans by these terrible events, ultimately bringing them to make a very climatic decision. And that decision will be the end of both
deciding
of
factor.
human.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and they will have to decide which entity to rule over, heaven or hell. And that
Wow.
brings us to which one will exist, if God will cease to exist or the devil will cease to exist. It's a very intense journey. Like imagine I like this example. You're familiar with the Matrix movie, I'm sure.
Sure. Absolutely. Of
Yeah.
course.
So remember, and I know I've said this before, so I'm maybe being a little repetitive to you, but not to your amazing audience. But so remember when Keanu Reeves takes the red pill, and Keanu Reeves, and you're not confused in the Matrix at first. You're very intrigued. You're like, what's going on? He takes the red pill. All of a sudden, he's sliding through this tube, and he wakes up, and he wakes up the first time, uses his eyes for the very first time, looks around at the state of the world, and sees massive fields of all these humans, and they're being harvested for energy. That is similar to this book. It's a completely different world than you thought could ever
Right.
exist.
Right.
Think of that, and also think of like the Hobbit movie.
hmm
And remember the Hobbit, it's right before he's trying to decide if he wants to go on that adventure with the dwarves to save and reclaim their homeland. And
Mhm.
Bilbo Baggins is nervous. He's faint, and he ends up fainting because might die. He's scared, but ultimately decides to go on this quest, this beautiful adventure, and it changes his life for the better. That's what this journey is like in this book. It's exactly
Mhm.
like that, because it is a scary concept, and it makes you a little. It makes you feel. It makes you question what reality is and what we've been taught. But
Right,
and
right, right.
drags you through this really intense adventure, but ultimately changes your life. But the adventure, all adventures, are difficult. They're
Mhm.
not. They're not comfortable,
Mhm. Mhm.
and they're not where you're laying in your beautiful bed and
Sure.
warming your feet by the
Well,
fire.
I think it's so relevant because I feel like that's almost I don't wanna say people are like, we're at a point in humanity right now where people are being put to question God. That's what I was gonna say,
Yeah,
right? Almost
yeah,
like question like, well, and I don't mean question God so much as question everything that they've been taught.
yeah,
Question reality,
yeah.
question what is reality, I mean, especially because quantum physics and all of these things are going on where they're telling you, well, we don't know reality is even real, it might just be thought, and we think that we're having this physical experience, which would be, I mean, how phenomenal would it be to even understand the possibility of how that is? I mean, I'm not looking at myself on this computer right now.
Yeah,
Like
what is this
this
box
isn't
looking at?
happening. Like what? I can't wrap my head around that. But you know,
Yeah,
the last week I had Flat Earth Dave on my show.
I watched pieces of it.
And my intention on that show was to not talk about flat Earth, but to talk about the idea that what if things weren't what we were taught? What if that, like, if we woke up tomorrow and we had to accept that, okay, the Earth is flat, now what?
Yeah,
Like, that's what I wanted to talk about with him, and it was just, again, uh, it was just interesting, like, to contemplate the idea of what might reality be if it's not what I think it is.
yeah, and
Right,
questioning it. I think it's
right,
healthy for everyone to do just that, is to have that conversation like you had with him. Is
right,
that, what if things aren't the way you believe they are?
right.
Why you should explore everything. You should always question, you know,
So I'm gonna explore this for a minute because we've
please.
got I never ever get this. There's somebody watching, and you've brought a wonderful, healthy audience with you. I don't know how somebody's sharing the broadcast or something because there's a lot of people here watching. But we've got Dan DeBrito saying this is some really stupid stuff, total ego talking, and I don't even understand who, whose ego is talking. I mean, are we just are our egos talking to each other? Because I feel like both you and I are not really people who are tied to our egos too much.
Very true.
uh,
Very true.
um, so Dan, welcome, and I appreciate you being here. I don't quite get your energy, but I do appreciate you being here, and I appreciate your comment. That helps my algorithm, I think.
Well,
Thank you.
I'll address that as well, Dan. Like, I thank you for saying that. And actually, when you do mention things like that, I it makes me evaluate myself. Am I do I have an ego? Is it do am I do I need to take a step back and think about how I view myself? So, in a way, what you're saying is healthy in a
Sure,
way.
absolutely.
It
No,
just
I'm
makes me think,
Dan's totally
and
entitled to feel
does.
like he doesn't relate to what we're talking to, and he feels like we're, you know, blabbering or whatever. But
Mhm.
I know there are people out there who are enjoying the conversation as much as I am. So it doesn't matter. Dan is welcome to sit and listen and try and understand what we're talking about. And he's also welcome to feel like, we're
That's
shit talking,
well
or
said, well
whatever.
said, well said,
You
Michael.
know?
And I know,
Yeah.
look, and Dan, I appreciate what you're saying. And I would never. I, I I know we don't know each other, Dan, but you would always have someone in me that there are levels of friendship. You would always have some, even if I never even met you, which we haven't. I would always support you in what you do, always,
There you
and
go.
you can rely on that, Dan. I mean,
There
we
you
all
go,
know each other.
Dan.
It sounds a little cheesy, maybe, but It's
No, you got a friend,
I
Dan's
know it's
Dan's got a friend. He's here. I don't know how he got here, but like he's got a friend in both you and me, right? Because
that's true. Yeah,
he's welcome here. He's even welcome to, feel the way he wants.
yeah, very
Uh,
true. It's healthy.
yeah. It just gave me a thought, but the thought just kind of went
It'll,
because
it'll come back.
there's so much good stuff going on. It's good to drink a cup of reality. Everyone help wake us up to the truth. So I think if it triggers, it could shine a light on some self topics to explore. Nice
Yeah,
comment.
that's Jilly's
Uh,
really right on with those kind of things, and
yes.
that's what I like is when. And Kelly has a nice comment too. I was going to say you
Yeah,
got.
you got a friend. You were just gonna start singing. You got a friend in me.
I know, like
Right.
I could
And
be
and and
teasing.
Eric and Dan are getting into it now. Eric says Dan's ego said some stupid stuff. But I don't I'm just
Okay,
honoring Eric and his comment there just as much as I was honoring Dan
it's
and his
healthy. It's a healthy dialogue for people to engage
right.
like that. And look, it always. I I have a lot to improve on in myself, and I think
Absolutely.
it's important that we all think like
That's
that.
why
Is
I'm
like,
here,
yeah,
just to
it's
get
to
better at doing this.
evaluate yourself. I have a lot of flaws, and I've been working on them for a long time, and I'm constantly thinking about constantly trying to evolve, constantly thinking about how I can be a better person.
Right.
And I struggle. I'm
Nobody
no
yeah.
saint. I wrongfully have judged people and still judge. We all judge. We all aren't as empathetic as we should be, and I'm always trying to get better. And I'm not as good as I should be. I
Right.
really am not. And I'm
Right.
always
Well, you know what I'm gonna add to that is maybe we're having a conversation that's kind of like not the conversation that you would have at the office, the everyday kind of like you said, you were talking about that before, where
yeah.
this conversation has intention. I put myself here to bring Nick on and talk to him about his book, and which I'm reading, which is awesome, and also to initiate him into the live stream and ask him what his thoughts on consciousness were and
Yeah.
how he became so spiritual and became so cool. So Jilly's out there saying we love you, Dan, and this is definitely a great fun show. I think we're at 10:07. I didn't even realize we've been talking for more than an hour.
Oh,
Um
see
so
how the time has flown when we're doing these kind of things.
yeah, this is great. I feel like I don't want to I hate one of the things I don't like about producing the podcast that I produce, and I was telling you earlier about producing shows, is that we try to limit it to 20 minutes. So when the guests and the podcaster have been at 20 minutes, we're like in the back going 2 minutes and trying to get them to wrap it up.
Yeah.
And then when they see us, they're like, oh well, so we got to wrap it up now. And I'm like, no, you can finish your thought, finish your thought, and then wrap it up. You know what
Sure.
I mean?
Yeah.
So we're gonna start wrapping it up, but Leslie, my philosophy exactly, naysayers are always welcome. You know what I mean? I don't have a little video yet at the beginning of the
Comment.
show that says the opinions on the show, are just of the or not reflect the opinions of the listeners.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know what that disclaimer should even say, but I guess I gotta put some sort of disclaimer on the show. But yeah, you've been awesome to talk to. Well, I definitely gotta come up. I think I've got to kind of change the format of the show and not just like bring on people once and give them, all right, so what is consciousness? I got to bring you back. We've got to have some more cool conversation.
I'd love to.
Maybe I'm going to do more shows. I've been watching some other podcasters who are just, they're committed. They do a few shows a week. I've been just doing one a week. So I've been kind of inspired to maybe start doing some more. We'll see how it evolves.
Sure.
I don't know, but I'm going to put you backstage. Don't go away because I want to talk to you. But I'm gonna wrap up the show. Thank you so much. People are saying you've been awesome. Lily's out there. Thank you. And you definitely have added to my wonderful library and elevated the level of it because we had a lot of viewers out there interacting with us both. So
It's been an
thanks for
absolute pleasure, Michael. Like this has been a very special event for me. I'm
awesome.
not an unknown individual. No one knows, and I don't. Not that anyone to do.
You know what? I think your book is going to do very well. I mean, Lori somehow is doing really well with her book because I think it hits home. People are starting to wonder more about existence, right?
Yeah, that's my goal.
And the origin of existence and why we're all here, humanity, and so I think your book will probably pick up you know, and people will pick onto it, and then we'll have you back, and we'll say that we've had you on the show, and you'll be back.
Oh,
And
well, that's so
Steve
nice.
Durante's out there. Steve, awesome. Thank you so much. You rock, Michael. Great show. Yes, and Nick was an amazing guest as well. Don't forget. And you rock, Stephen Durante. You rock, Stephen Durante, for being there. So thank you everybody for being here. Thank you, Nick. I'm gonna just wrap it up. I'll see you in a minute. I don't know even what to say. I feel like tonight's show was a nice jump into where it's headed. Right, I just took a step forward. Wherever the show's headed, I'm closer to that with this show, because it felt amazing to talk to Nick. It felt amazing to sell 2 books on the show. I mean, that's cool. I should write a book or something, have something to sell, and start making money with this show. That would be awesome. Next week I have Peter Bales coming on the show. Peter Bales is a stand-up comedian from Long Island, who I do one of the podcasts that I was talking about. We do Jackie the Joke Man, stand-up memories. Peter Bales is the co-host. They host the show together. They talk about their memories growing up through the stand-up circuit. Part of the introduction last season, Peter Bales, there's a little sound clip. He says, I remember telling Eddie Murphy, stay in school just so you have a backup. So they like kind of have this cool history of comedians that are famous, and they know lots of people. So he's going to be next week. So join me next week. I did not even get to put it up, but you can get Nick's book in the beginning on Amazon. So just search Nick D GIrard on Amazon, or in the beginning. And if you see this black book that could be none more black, that's the book you want. And it's a lot of fun. So I got to run my little outro video. Peace.